members. My name is Russ.
And I'm Brett.
And we are the winemakers here at Fellows Creek Winery. And I just want to point this out right away that we are winemakers. We're not actors or screenwriters or directors. We're way better at making wine than we are at making videos. It's taken us a long time to make these videos for the Case Club packages. But you are our favorite customers, Case Club members. Thank you for your support and your loyalty throughout all this especially. And thank you for allowing us to ship you 3 bottles of wine every quarter. Many of you purchase additional bottles with the 20% discount that you get at the time. So thank you very much.
So kind of like Russ said, we're not able to host our Case Club reception here where we physically pour you the wines and tell you about the wines and you can ask us questions and we can chat. We're not able to do that, so instead we're doing videos where we're going to taste through the wines in your package and we're going to tell you all about them because the more you know about your wines that you're drinking, the more you're going to appreciate them.
So you're watching this video because you're in the surprise package and you should have gotten a Chardonnay, a Solomani Red, and a newly bottled Solomani White. If you don't have these in your package, contact Angie. She'll fix it. She fixes everything.
And it's important before we start tasting these wines, you're going to want to refrigerate or chill the Chardonnay and the Solomani White. So stick them in the refrigerator for an hour or so, and then you can taste them after the video or pause and taste with us. But yeah, don't refrigerate the Solomani Red. That should be drunk at room temperature.
All right. Whenever we taste wine, I always like to start from driest to sweetest. And so the Chardonnay is the driest wine out of the 3, so we are going to go ahead and try that one first. But before we taste it, I'm going to go over some label information for you. There's a lot of cool information on these labels that can help guide you through a wine as well. In this case, Chardonnay is the name of the grape. So we named the wine after the grape Chardonnay. That is the variety. Next up underneath that, it says American. That's where the grapes came from. They came from America. It's the United States. Otherwise, if it was Chardonnay grown in Minnesota, which unfortunately doesn't survive in Minnesota, it would say Minnesota under there. And then over here is the vintage 2018. Vintage is very important because about 80 to 90% of a wine's quality is determined by the growing season. That's how much sunlight it got, how warm it was, how cool it was, how much rain they got. That's all going to play a factor in the flavors and the characters of the wine. So that's why sometimes you'll hear like, oh, and then 2001 was a great vintage in Napa Valley, or 2019 was a great vintage in Minnesota. So we'll put those years on the bottle indicating the year that it was grown in. Next up, we have some notes. If this auto zoom here is working pretty well, but that's going to kind of give you a little description of what you'd expect to taste in the wine. And we have the alcohol content, 13% in the Chardonnay. That's pretty typical, 750 milliliters. And then on the back, one thing that I like to look for is produced and bottled by. That means that the grapes were brought into this winery, fermented at this winery, all the wine was treated at the winery and bottled at this winery. There are cases out there, situations, scenarios when a winery will just buy bulk wine on the market, and there's lots of bulk wine on the market for various reasons, and they'll clean it up and bottle it, and in that case it would just say bottled by in the name of the winery. And so my favorite is the estate bottled. Sometimes it'll say estate on the front of the label, sometimes on the back. And that just means that the winemakers and the vintners had complete control over the vineyards, the grapes. They can control how much sunlight the grapes get by pulling leaves off the vine and so forth, and lots of other things that you can do to alter the grapes in the vineyard. And that just gives the winery more control over the quality of the wine. And so usually when you see estate, you usually get the best quality that that variety can produce. So that's always a good one to look for. Then we got the Surgeon General's warning on here. What else? barcode, this little number above the barcode, that's the bottle sequence and the order of bottling. So this is bottle 3,237. So if you're a collector, maybe that's something to look for. So that's labeling.
All right, let's give it a try.
Yeah. So this Chardonnay was also closed with a cork. The Chardonnay has some bottle ageability. In some of the Chardonnays that we've had here, we always keep some in the library and we'll pull one out every once in a while. And I would expect, this Chardonnay to be good for another 4, 5, 6 years even, just based on the other wines that we've had in the library. Chardonnay holds all really well in bottles. Especially closed with the cork here. Now, the style of this Chardonnay is definitely a Western style. Chardonnay originated in France. That's where it was first discovered, and it's widely grown and planted in France. Actually, it's widely grown and planted all over the world. Anywhere that there's grapes grown, you can almost find Chardonnay. But in many other parts of the world, Chardonnay is grown in like a crisper, minerally lighter style. But California kind of invented their own style of these heavy, buttery, oaky Chardonnays. And that's the style that we found fits us best and fits our customer base best. And so that is the style that we've created here. So, quick little wine tasting 101. When you get your glass, pour your wine, give it a smell. That's going to give you kind of the initial flavors and aromas of that wine. And then you give it a good swirl. What that swirling does is it creates more surface area on the wine, which allows for more evaporation of the aroma molecules. So you give that a good swirl for a little bit, let some of those more delicate molecules evaporate, and then give it another smell. And you should pick up a little more hints of maybe fruit or other kind of delicate aromas that you didn't quite get in the initial smell.
I get a lot of pear and apple.
And just a hint of citrus towards the end, slight butteriness. Almost like a fresh, nutty kind of flavor. Not a roasted nut, like almond or what's the one, like walnut. Kind of like a fresh walnut kind of smell too, right at the end.
There's a bit of an earthiness to it.
So all those terms and flavors that we throw out, that all comes to, actually they're not flavors, they're aromas. That all contributes to the complexity of wine. That's kind of one of our jobs as winemakers, is to try to create the most balanced and complex wine we possibly can.
If we say a descriptor, like pear, apple, or citrus, you may not smell that. It's all your own personal perception, the way that you perceive the flavors and the aromas of the wines.
Yep. Everybody tastes things differently, and that's why everybody likes things different as well. You could have twin brothers that grew up the exact same, ate and drank the same thing their entire lives. One of them tries this and says, "Oh, this is the best wine I've ever had, give me a case." And the brother says, "Oh my gosh, it's terrible," and dumps it out. And there's these varying palates out there, and it's all kind of, most of it is genetically inhibited. So you're just given the taste buds that you have, and you can't control that. So you want to take a taste. And if you've noticed, at first I just took a little sip, and you kind of want to coat your mouth with that wine at first, because that's going to let your mouth adjust to the alcohol and the acidity and kind of some of the harshness of wine. Because we're not used to eating and drinking things that have this kind of acidity and alcohol. All right, so when you take a sip, take a much larger sip the second time, and then hold it in your mouth for about a minute. I was going to hold it in my mouth for about a minute because it'd be kind of awkward to see you guys just staring at us while we hold wine in our mouth for a minute. So, hold it in your mouth. You're going to notice some of the flavors change, and your mouth is going to adjust even more to that acidity and alcohol, and it's going to soften as it sits in your mouth, and you're going to pull out more flavors, and so you get a whole experience of all of its complexity. And then after you swallow, you get a little lingering, kind of minerally, slightly oaky, buttery taste that hangs out in the back of your mouth, for a while after you spit. We call that the finish. And so this one, I would say, probably has a medium finish. Yeah, it's funny, bro. You mentioned like the earthiness and the aroma. I couldn't smell it, but I can taste it. Taste a little bit of a earthy oakiness and some minerality, and very crisp and clean. Very nice.
Yes, very nice.
It does feel like a TV, like a news anchor. This is what it would be like, Brett, I suppose. Good evening. My name is Russ, here for CCW Channel 1 News. In the headlines today, Solomani Red. Since Carlos Creek was unable to host their Case Club pickup party, they've been forced to make videos. We tried reaching out to Angie for comment, but she declined.
Oh, you're pretty good at that. Doesn't even have a teleprompter up there.
Maybe I missed my column. Probably not. I like wine more. Alright, Solomani Red. And Solomani White. Well, talk about the name a little bit between these two. Actually, the whole series. We named it Solomani because it represents, like the sun being hot represents the warmer climates of California, and the moon is, it represents nighttime, of course, and Minnesota being a cooler climate, cooler region.
It's an Old Norse language,
Yeah.
where the words come from. Sol, sun, mani, moon.
Thanks for pointing that out, Brett. It also kind of helps tie in the Nordic theme that we have going on in the brewery. So helps kind of tie the two businesses together here a little bit as well. Now, it also kind of represents like a night and day difference between California wines and Minnesota. So in this particular case, if you look on the back of the label, this side, it's a blend of 45% Petite Syrah, 27% Marquette, 15% Cabernet, and 15% Zinfandel. Now, the Petite Syrah and the Cabernet and Zinfandel are much more tannic and kind of heavier bodied wines. And the Marquette is a nice medium body, and it's just got plush fruit and mild tannin. And so you got very different, a lot of differences between the two grapes from the different regions. 4 grapes from the different regions. And but when you blend them all together, you get just a big, bold, fruity, kind of slightly tannic, but full bodied red wine. And that's kind of exactly what we were going for. We were trying to make the biggest, boldest wine that we could possibly make. And blending these wines together has helped us create that. And since we've released this has been the second best-selling red wine that we've had. So, that's probably the gist of Solomani. So once again, we'll pour some in your glass. All right, just like Chardonnay, like we're talking about in the Chardonnay, taking a small sip and then a bigger sip, the swirling, the sniffing. We follow the same protocol, and even since we're going from white to red, You definitely want to let your mouth acclimate to the tannin that's in this, because that's going to be the biggest difference, obviously, between like red wines and white wines, is the tannin content that you find in the red wines. So, give it a sniff. That'll give you, an initial perception of the wine, and then when you swirl it, you get lots of very different aromas in there as well. You still should be able to pick out the same smells that you got in the initial sniff. Give it a good swirl. Help a little more of those delicate aromas evaporate out.
I get a very spicy character. You can definitely pick out the oak as well.
Yep, my initial smell as well. The Marquette is naturally more aromatic, so we get a lot of aromas from the aroma. When I first smelled it before swirling, I could smell mostly Marquette. And now after I've given it a good swirl, you get some more of like a little bit of kind of red fruits and different kind of like peppers even. Like green pepper and kind of more sweet peppers, not jalapenos or habaneros. You like a little earthiness in there as well. Mild oak. It's not a heavily oaked wine either. This is a little bit on the lighter oak side. And then we go for the taste. Once again, just a little sip to coat your mouth. Kind of rinse the Chardonnay out. Alright, then you want to take a larger sip. And once again, hold it in your mouth for about a minute and just kind of watch how the flavors change and how you pick up more flavors and different flavors and notice all the complexity of the wine.
I taste more of the fruity character, plums, maybe blackberries.
Yeah, it sort of felt more rounded and smooth, especially on the second sip. And of course, you gotta let your mouth acclimate to that. It definitely smoothens out real nicely, and you get a real, like a perfect integration of fruit and tannin and wood all at the same time. It's just like one kind of even note going from the first taste of your mouth all the way until you swallow. And you get a nice kind of spicy, fruity, kind of lingering kind of oaky flavor. Yeah. Pretty good, right?
Good stuff.
Yeah. I'm not going to dump this one. I'm going to drink this one. Now for the Solmani White. If you were here last year, we released the first bottling of our Solmani line. And this would be the second. We just bottled this one a few weeks ago. This is a very similar blend as before. We want to try to keep this one consistent. We want to try to keep all of these in the Solmani line as consistent as possible from year to year. And so once again, this is a blend of Pinot Grigio, that's the California side, and Frontenac Gris. That's obviously the Minnesota side then. Frontenac Gris was developed by the University of Minnesota. It's actually a mutation of the Frontenac grape that the University of Minnesota developed, which was initially red, completely red, dark red grape, and that mutated into like a grayish, orangish colored grape. Just like Pinot Grigio, that mutated from Pinot Noir into like a grayish gris grape, and so we've got the best of both of those worlds mixed together in one bottle, and it makes a most fantastic blend. The Pinot Grigio always brings like a little bit of body and like a softness to the wine. And Minnesota grapes are extremely aromatic for whatever reason. Especially in the Frontenac grape, it's probably a personal favorite of mine. It's one of the easiest grapes to work with out of Minnesota, and it just has such intense aromas and flavors, and it's so fruity, and it's just it's a lot of fun to work with. And it makes an awesome blender. It makes an awesome varietal wine on its own as well. So it's just probably one of my favorite wines here in Minnesota. By far my favorite white wine. So I'm gonna jump in the gun a little bit. All right, pour some in your glass. Once again, give it a smell, then swirl it. You probably noticed me swirling it as I was sitting here because I'm a fidgeter. I always gotta be doing something. I can't just sit still. So, give it a smell. You notice it's got intense stone fruits and kind of a floral compound. Pinot Grigio would be a little more florally, and Frontenac Gris is definitely more stone fruit kind of character, like peaches and apricots.
Right, I get a lot of the aromas from the Frontenac Gris in the nose. Very fruity, a little bit of lemon, apricot.
All right, so then once again, you want to give it a little taste. This is going to have a little bit more of a sweetness to it, so adjusting from like the drier, tannic, Solomani Red, give it just a little taste. Let it coat your mouth, swallow it quickly so that you can get your mouth get that red wine kind of washed out and all those flavors fleshed out, so you get the full, true taste of the Solomani white then. All right, get that washed out. Then, once again, of course, take a larger sip, hold it in your mouth for about a minute or so, and just kind of notice and watch how the flavors change and how maybe you detect different aromas and different flavors, and just note all the complexities of the wine.
As Russ said, it has a little subtle sweetness, but it's also crisp and acidic.
Oh man, it's just got the perfect balance. Well, you can drink this anytime, anywhere. It's got enough acidity that it'd be great with food. You can sit outside in the sun, have a nice, cool, refreshing glass of white wine. Wow, this one turned out pretty awesome. Better than I thought, actually. I haven't tried it in a while, maybe not since we bottled it, but wow, that's good. All right.
Cool.
This concludes our wine tasting. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something or developed a greater appreciation for the wines that you just had. And I hope to see you in August at the next Case Club reception.
Yeah, once again, thank you for your loyalty and your membership. Cheers.
Cheers.